What a phenomenal time to be alive, and what a phenomenal time to have this incredible and amazing section today. I'm excited to be here, and I believe you are too. So, wherever you are today, I would like you to, just tell me where you are joining from. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. And depending on the time you're watching this, I'm excited to have this incredible conversation with us today. Thank you so much for joining. And if you're just joining and you haven't subscribed to this, I will appreciate if you do so, so that you will always know when we go live like this. Because in this place, we share quite a lot that can empower your marriage, help you discover yourself and your spouse better, and also to give you the opportunity to continue to grow and to continue to evolve to be the best version of yourself to your spouse. Thank you so much for joining me today. And also want to say that this series that we do on Thursdays, they are quite practical, they're quite real. And that is why what we're having this evening from the UK perspective, for those that on this side of the world, is practical ways to build lasting trust in your marriage. Practical ways to build lasting trust in your marriage. This is an area that a lot of couples struggle with, and sometimes they find it very hard to really trust themselves. They trust each other, and because they don't have that level of connection and intimacy in the marriage, in the relationship, it becomes a challenge. All right. So I want to encourage you to just see this as an opportunity, maybe to review your marriage trust level. And if there is an issue around this area, we're going to find a way to discuss it and also find a way to get a solution out of it. Okay. So thank you so much for joining me. And I believe that we will actually have an exciting moment. And also, we can also learn, we can grow, and also we can be better at what we do. Okay. So, who is excited? Who is excited to be here? I would like to play another clip very quickly, and then I will be back shortly. Hello. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. Today, we're looking at practical ways to build trust in your marriage. Practical ways to build trust in your marriage. And I want to say thank you for those that are joining either from Instagram or Facebook. We are also here on YouTube. I would appreciate if you put some comment down, or you want to ask any question, please hit the comment box or share your thoughts as well. As I begin this topic, it's important to understand what marital trust is all about. I think if we start from there, it will give us a better picture of how serious marital trust is, how serious we need to take it, and also not to trivialize it at all in our marriage, in our relationship. All right. What exactly is marital trust? In a simple form, it is the foundation of any strong and healthy marriage. This is where there's total reliance, total confidence, and faith in one another in that relationship. This will involve you trusting and seeing your spouse as very dependable, brutally honest, and committed to the overall well being of that marriage. And it's something that is built over time, but you start somewhere. And that is why we said it is a foundation of anything that you want to build on that relationship. If you think about a building have foundation. And the foundation is very critical if we want that building to withstand a lot of storms, winds, challenges, either from an earthly perspective or for whatever perspective. And a building also, the foundation determine how far that building is going to look like, or how building is going to be, or what exactly the building will be able to withstand. So foundation is very key and very, very important. If your spouse cannot rely on you, if your spouse cannot trust you, they can't be confident in you, your spouse cannot be honest, cannot be committed to you, then I wonder how both of you are able to live in that marriage, in that relationship, in a very cordial, trustworthy, and dependable way. So, this is why it's very, very important to think about how trust is critical in your marriage and relationship. In as much as we say that trust is important, in as much as we say that trust is critical in our marriage, there's a way we can destroy that trust. Most marriages started from the place of total trust, total honesty, total transparency. The husband sincerely loves the wife and see the wife as a co-partner, a teammate in a unified relationship. And they started so well in that marriage, in that relationship. The question is, what exactly now happened that things begin to dwindle? Sometimes the relationship turned to become completely an unbearable place to be. When the wife is finding it difficult to see the husband as open, honest, and transparent human being, then something has happened. So, what brings couples to this point where trust is eroded in that marriage, in that relationship? What constitutes trust becoming unavailable in your marriage and relationship? Number one, broken promises. If your spouse repeatedly fails to keep their promises or commitment, it becomes very hard for you to trust them. And most times, when you see couples becoming resented towards their spouse, or you see breed of resentment or doubt and skepticism in the other spouse towards you, it is highlighting that trust is being damaged or is in the process of being damaged. And when this thing is there over time, trust will even be damaged over time. So you need to ask yourself, as someone that is married, do I keep my promises to my wife? Do I keep my promises to my spouse? Or for those that want to get married, when you say something, do you keep to them? Things about your finances, things about parenting, things about your family, things about confidentiality, they shared information with you. Is it being spread abroad and shared among your family members? When you break trust over and over again, that marriage will become hard, and that marriage will become a bit difficult for anybody to be in. So the question you ask yourself, am I a promise breaker? Is my wife comfortable about what has happened? Most people think infidelity is the only way you break trust. Yes, that's one of them. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but that's not exactly the only thing. When you break the trust about your savings, your finances, you break the trust about what was shared to you by your wife or your husband, when you break the trust about what should be done, when you agree something with your spouse and you go behind their back and you start doing something different, then you're breaking trust in that marriage, in that relationship. So, what do you expect them to do? They will begin to doubt you, because even when you are truthful or you are sincere, there is this element of doubt because you have repeatedly broken your promises. You have repeatedly not kept to what was agreed mutually, or what you have agreed as a solo person, you're no longer keeping to it. Then your trust is being eroded. So it's good to identify, what am I doing that is eroding of eroded trust. Number two, infidelity. This is one of the most common significant threats to marital trust. Infidelity is a monster, is dangerous. When spouse engages in extramarital affairs, or you see them behave in a certain way that shows emotional betrayal, they're involved in watching, looking, getting involved, or physically getting engaged in things that are sexual, no matter how minute, outside their matrimonial bedroom with another man, another woman, that will shatter for sure the foundation of trust and intimacy in the marriage. If you're listening and you're going to listen to this later, the question now is, are you truly and confidently being faithful to your spouse? Being faithful to what you say you will do by maintaining that fidelity in your relationship. And if that has happened, we're going to talk about what you need to do. Number three is secrecy and deception. Some spouse are just unbelievable secret agent in their marriage and relationship. They hide critically important information that should help the wife, help the husband in navigating certain things in their marriage and relationship, activities, tasks. When you withhold truth, when you keep back things that you should share to your spouse, when you engage in any form of lying or deception, there's no way that will not undermine trust and create a sense of suspicion and insecurity in the relationship, in your marriage. The question I want to ask, do you keep secrets that you're supposed to share? Or there are things now that you've hidden. There are informations that you know your spouse need to know about it, but deliberately you hide them from your spouse knowing about them. At the end of the day, you are just eroding trust, or you've eroded trust that your spouse had on you. Number four, lack of accountability. When couples do not take responsibility for their actions, when you constantly blame maybe each other or blame the other spouse about all the problems that happens in the marriage and relationship, you are eroding trust for sure. And then you create this circle of resentment, this circle of pain, frustration, and distrust in your relationship. There is no way you're going to see connection, love, and joy when you cannot own up. There are men that are like God, there are women that are like God because they are flawless. Mr. Right always, Mrs. Right always. They never take responsibility about anything. Everything that happens in the marriage and relationship, they will ensure the other spouse bears every blame and every consequence that comes after that occurrence or that incident or that event in their marriage and relationship, because that other spouse is the cause of everything. So when you cannot behold being open, when you cannot totally allow accountability to thrive in your marriage and relationship, you are eroding trust. So don't come and say, she doesn't trust me, he doesn't trust me, I don't know this, I don't know that. You are the one that is making that to be in your marriage and relationship. Number four, violation of boundaries. You disrespect each other's boundaries, you disrespect their privacy for whatever reason, right? Their personal space, you already did, you use all kind of languages, you invade everything about them that should be important and sacred. You just talk anyhow about some sensitive private stuff about your marriage and relationship to others, to strangers. That's just not great. And that is going to begin to make your spouse uncomfortable. What about unresolved conflict? Number six, big things has happened in your relationship. Like we know that conflict is inevitable, it's a normal part of every healthy relationship because of our individuality, because of our ability to think differently, coming from different background. There are significant points where we might not entirely agree on things, and that might sustain some significant level of unresolved conflict. If that conflict is not addressed, is not uncovered, if that conflict is ignored, avoided altogether, then you are building an unresolved issue to fester. When the spouse see this unresolved aspect of your marriage and relationship, you begin to create doubt if you truly care or love. Begin to create doubt if you are actually interested and sensitive. Because when that exists over time, your spouse will have this subtle dislike. We call it resentment. They will begin to build some negative image about you in their mind. And that's not going to help you in any way. That is not going to take you anywhere. This is why it's important that you find a way not to allow these things to erode trust in your relationship. Number seven, on how trust is being eroded in your relationship, also lack of communication. You're not open, you're not talking, you're not discussing, you're not sharing, and there is a lot of misunderstanding. When you say things, it's misinterpreted. There is this doubt around you and your marriage. uh, the intention that you're trying to create a positive relationship, because you don't share, because you're not talking, they will not believe the motive of why you're doing all these things. And your spouse will know that you are just not being totally transparent with them. So that is a problem, and it's something that should be addressed and dealt with. And if this broken trust continues over time in a marriage, in a relationship, and both of you are not identifying the cause, identifying the root cause of this lack of trust, betrayal, and all these things that is visible in a marriage that doesn't trust, in a marriage that spouses doesn't trust themselves anymore, how does that affect the man? How does that affect the woman when this trust is no longer there, always been betrayed, and when husband and wife do no longer act or behave in a way that shows that they trust each other. How does that affect the woman? Number one is emotional turmoil. Women often experience a range of intense emotions in response to broken trust. But this can include sadness, annoyance, crying, disappointment, the feeling of hurt. So, while they are feeling all these emotions, they will struggle to process their feelings properly. And at the end of the day, they find it even more difficult to trust their spouse again. So the question you must always ask, how did we get here? Why is it that we're not growing or expanding in our trust? It is important to allow trust to prevail in your relationship and marriage. Because if it doesn't, then all these emotions we've talked about, emotional turmoil will just cloud the entire atmosphere of that home. And that's going to be a big problem. There'll be loss of security because broken trust can really shake a woman's sense of security in that marriage and the relationship overall. So she'll become vulnerable, she'll become uncertain about the future, and most times start fearing if her needs will ever be met again. And this really hurts the woman. This really affects and impacts the overall well-being of the woman. So when you do things and when you act as men, it's important to know that lack of trust can cause emotional turmoil for the woman. It can create loss of security, no confidence in the future or in the plan. There will be difficulty even in forgiving. So women will find it very challenging in freely forgiving their spouse for the pain and trouble he had caused them. So they may grapple with all these feelings of resentment and pain and misery and regrets and feeling disillusioned. And I can tell you, these can be very hard to process. And most times they remain like that for a very long time. So it is not exciting, it's not good for lack of trust to exist in any man in a relationship because it builds even further lack of trust. And at the end of the day, no one has won, right? And things are not better. Also, communication breakdown is another factor that affects the woman very hugely. Trust cannot be freely given anymore because you can see the impact of the lack of communication in their marriage and relationship. The spouse begin to doubt themselves, they begin to withdraw emotionally, they become completely less sensitive to their spouse. And because of that, they even make it very hard to identify what the problem is. And working towards reconciliation becomes a challenge. So women are affected hugely emotionally. Difficulty even freely forgiving, especially when you have repeated offenses, loss of security. So this is why it's very important and critical that you deal with every form of trust issue in your marriage and relationship. Let's talk about the men. What does lack of trust in marriage and relationship teach us? How does that affect the man? There is emotional withdrawal. Most men will stop talking. They will stop connecting with their spouse emotionally. They will withdraw, and sometimes they stay in the office. They are distant. They are reserved. They just don't have to have a lot of connection and engaging activity or meaningful conversation with their spouse because they strongly believe that they don't need to do anything, but rather to withdraw. And withdrawing emotional benefit to their wives is dangerous. That's not great. And it's not even good for the man as well. What about loss of confidence? Broken trust can undermine a man's confidence in himself and his ability to trust others. So, if your spouse struggles, if your spouse has been having challenges and is not able to fully become confident based on the inadequacies or the betrayals that has happened, has affected the overall marriage, it is important for you to now seek for external help if there be. There's going to be anger and resentment. The man will be upset. His feeling of anger and frustration will begin to happen to this spouse. And unfortunately, that will not be great for them either, because anger and resentment is not good for any man. But lack of proper experience with a man, with a woman from a perspective of trust can affect the man hugely. Difficulty in rebuilding. Most men find it even challenging to go back and rebuild because they feel like they've been betrayed. They're not able to carry on. So they become hesitant to continue on that marriage, on that relationship. So it's very, very important you find a way to build yours. So emotional withdrawal, loss of confidence, anger and resentment, and difficulty in rebuilding are key strategic problems that needs to be taken out. Otherwise, your relationship and marriage can become very, very challenging. So don't go anywhere. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about what exactly we need to do to build this transparency in our marriage, in our relationship. Because I believe this can impact our relationship and impact our dynamics of how we do things and overall the betterment of all those that practice what they have been taught. So don't go anywhere. I'll be back in just over a minute. Hello, hello, welcome back. Just before the break, we were talking about practical ways to build lasting trust in your marriage, and we also talked about the impact it can have on the marriage and relationship overall if we do not take care of it now. But I believe that it is very practical to do so. And if anyone that wants to see a practical marriage that brings love, joy, happiness, harmony, and peace, then you cannot trivialize or joke with building solid trust in your marriage, in your relationship. So we just want to talk about how do you now truly focus on building that trust in your marriage, in your relationship. What are the things you need to do to build trust in your marriage and relationship? The first thing for me is open communication. Open communication. There is no way if you don't practice honesty and transparency in communicating with your spouse, it's going to be very difficult. You'll find it very hard to build trust. You don't just communicate for a while in transparency and honesty, and after that, you go on break. You don't go on break in complete and total honesty and transparency at all times with your spouse, regardless of what it is. Don't say, I don't think they would like to hear this. Give them the chance to know and decide for themselves. Share your thoughts and your feelings and concerns openly and please, respectively. Because you want to share your feelings, your thoughts, you want to share how you are concerned about certain things in a marriage or relationship, does not give you the right to begin to speak in a very judgmental or very deceptive manner. this will not entirely help you or help anyone at all. And you need to listen to your spouse perspective. No matter what you guys are talking about, no matter what you feel is right or wrong, you cannot interrupt or begin to judge. There are couples that just don't can't be patient. They will always find a way to interrupt their spouse when they are speaking. That is not good enough. That is not professional. If you want them to have an open communication with you, you need to speak without judgment and interruption. Okay. So, very, very important that you understand the financial ways of doing things, the plans, the strategies, because when you do that, then open communication will begin to be seen in your marriage and relationship. Then what about consistency and reliability? This is another one where over time you say you're doing something and you stick to it. You're consistent in your actions, you're consistent in how you follow through on your commitment. You're not breaking things all the time. So when you show up for your spouse consistently, then it shows that definitely something is happening, that you are committed, that you are consistent, that you're willing and you're ready. Okay. So it's very critical and important that every believer demonstrate reliability by being clear about what they're doing. Okay. Very, very important. Clear about what you're doing. And by doing that, then you are also consistent in what you say you're going to do. You're not going to start canceling it and doubting it. So that's very, very important. And then you have trust building activities. So engage in trust building activities together. Let's say things like team building exercises or adventures exercises or indoors exercises is very important. So why you try to build trust and into your marriage and relationship is very, very important that you take time apart, go for counseling sections where necessary, go for retreats, go for couples events, you know take your time to deal with certain things in your marriage and relationship and reassure each other that both of you are in this together. And also it's important to take on new challenges as well. Find a way to take new challenges, find a way to stand and be the person that you're supposed to be. And apart from that, you need to critically understand the fact that every activity you do, sometimes there will be need for forgiveness, there'll be need for grace. And when you have grace, when you have commitment to your spouse, then it become very easy for you to find a way to let go of things. You can't be holding on to past that have happened for a very long time, because if you apologize sincerely and then they will hear, and at the same time your spouse practically will know that you're serious about this. So both of you now exemplary example of forgiveness and grace. They have transparency and accountability. I've talked about this. You have to be transparent. Your spouse have to be transparent. Both of you 100%. That's it. And then build emotional connection on a regular daily basis. Okay, which is very, very important as well. So it is very, very important that when you know that, when you understand that, then you begin to see that building trust is very critical. The other one that I strongly believe that we need to think about is accountability and transparency. You need to be transparent about everything with your spouse. Actions, decisions, thoughts, feelings, everything about you. You need to be transparent with your spouse. Otherwise, it's going to cause a lot of problem later. Hold yourself accountable by saying, my words and my actions, I'm going to encourage my spouse, we're going to work together, we're going to do this. So speak life, create moment, time together, safe and less of gadget, and have this conversation sincerely and create ways to support yourselves everywhere you go. Then you build emotional connection as well. Invest time, effort in building emotional intimacy with your spouse. Prioritize it, think about it, find quiet time together. Show love, appreciate love. Yeah, let them see, let them understand exactly, based on what you are saying, based on what you are doing to them. Let them know that you really care and you are available there to share every moment of affection, every moment of consideration, every moment of connection. It goes a long way to impact the relationship overall. Also, transparency in your finances. These are the ways again to build. You're very open about your finances. You're maintaining all the savings. You know all the books. They are seeing it. They know about the expenses, the income, the saving, everything that you're doing. It's very important and critical that you remain transparent in everything, and also in finances. And then we now talked about another very very important point that I believe is worth highlighting, and it can actually help um, the marriage to thrive, help the relationship to thrive, because by incorporating this point, and incorporating these practices in your marriage and relationship, there is no way these strategies would work. I've been married. This year is going to make me 16 years, and I can tell you, everything I'm sharing here is something that you have no choice. Um, you should avoid, because if you do that, it's to the detriment of your marriage and relationship. So you must find a way to ensure that your relationship actually works, your relationship is doing well, and also you're able to focus and do what is right for your relationship to the best of your knowledge. So it is quite important that when you do that, then you will see the transformation that could take place, because your marriage was committed by two individuals. So I'm really, really grateful for you joining me today. And I want to say a massive thank you for all those that were able to join. And I'm hoping that we're going to meet again. Remain blessed. And please share this with your friends, share this in the groups, make other people know about it. And I know that things will begin to change and evolve in your own life as well. So thank you so much. And I appreciate you. Um, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just trying to look at some questions here. But thank you so much for joining. And we're going to see you next week, Thursday. God bless you. Take care. Bye.